everyone, I welcome you all to Forensic Lectures. So in this video, we will be going to see a brief introduction to forensic science. So let us see what we will see today or what we will cover today in this video. So firstly, we are going to see the definition of forensic science, then the history and development, then scope of forensic science, and lastly the ethics in forensic science. So now let us first move on to the first topic, that is definition of forensic science. So many people have different definition according to the different books they refer. So here is the definition that I have taken in my simplified words. So for see what does it says, that is use of technology, scientific methods and technique as and where needed. Means wherever we need this particular technology, scientific methods or techniques, wherever in any case, if we need it in crime scene detection where we can find a blood, where we need a technique like DNA examination or blood examination, and it should be applicable in law and enforcement system, where we use most this forensic science or this investigation in criminal or civil cases, right? So next here I have given a small definition, that is application of science to criminal and civil law or to the justice system. So in one sentence I have noted down this thing. Then this word forensic science, you might have been curious where it have been derived from. So here the first word, that is forensic, it is derived from the Latin word, that is forum. In Roman means in Rome, it is actually a place where ancient Rome's, they used to do their this, like we have here panchayats and other, now we can say the courts, right? Like that type, they had this forums. So what does the word forum means? It means a meeting or a medium where an idea, a place of meeting, okay, sorry, or a medium where ideas and views on a particular issue can be exchanged. So this is the meaning of this word. Then moving on to the word science, right? We have studied science from our 5th standard till now, right? So what does the meaning of this word says? So it is a process that uses strict guidelines to ensure what a careful and systematic collection, organization and analysis of information. So any information if we have, if we do that systematic analysis, collection and organization of that information, it will be seen under the subject science, right? Then next, moving on to the next slide, that is here history and development is given. Firstly, I'll say that I have taken only the few contributors, means the person who has contributed their works to forensic science. So here we have a first thing, that is Sherlock Holmes. What does this word immediately stays to your mind when I just said Sherlock Holmes, right? It is a famous American series, right? So Sherlock Holmes is a fictional detective created by a British author, that is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So he referred himself as a consulting detective in that series. So So it is known for his that character is actually known for his proficiency and observation in dealing with investigation, that he helps the police in investigation and all that, right? Now we have many series and movies that are based on forensic science. So moving on to next, that is Sir Edmund Lockhart. So many believe that he is also known as the father of forensic science. He is famous for his Lockhart's exchange principle. So he was a French criminologist and a pioneer in forensic science, who became to known as what the Sherlock Holmes of France. And he formulated the basic principle, that is every contact leaves a trace. That is what is known as the Lockhart's exchange principle. Then the next person here is Dr. Satish Chaudhary. He is known as the father of forensic science in India. So, Dr. Satish Chaudhary, he was the father of forensic science in India. So he retired as the director of State Forensic Laboratory in the year 1980, and he was also the assistant director of Central Forensic Laboratory in 1956. Then next, moving on to Sir Matthew Orfella, the person who is known to be the father of forensic toxicology. He has written this forensic toxicology book in the year 1840. Okay, so he was a French speaking Spanish person. Then he was pioneered the use of chemical analysis on human body to determine the cause of death. Like he was the first person to use this chemical methods or the process on the human bodies, like the dead bodies, means how that person has been poisoned. That thing was found by Sir Matthew Orfella. Then next, Alphonse Battalion. You might have heard about this, right? The battalion technique or the battalion system, right, in the police. So Sir Alphonse Battalion, he's lived from 1853 to 1914. So he was anthropometry. He was the father of anthropometry, not anthropology. Okay. So he was the first person to use the scientific system of personal identification. He was basically a police officer in French, and also a researcher in biometrics who applied the anthropological techniques of anthropometry to law and to the enforcement system, in creating identification system based on the physical measurement. We have the measurements of our ears, like the measurements of hands and all body parts, right? Then next, moving on to Francis Galton. He was actually the father of forensic fingerprints, or we can say the fingerprints. So he wrote the book Fingerprints, titled Fingerprint, in the year 1892. So he developed this fingerprint system that is known as the 3-point identification system. Okay, on the work collected by Sir William J. Herschel, who also was a pioneer in this fingerprint. Okay, fingerprint section. Then he collected all his work and then did this 3-point identification, and then he did this building and supplier to place his handprints on back of the contract to avoid being spilled. He was the person, at that time the contracts were sealed and signed, right? So he was the first person who used, whatever paperwork we have at the back of the paperwork, he made it mandatory to seal the thumb, means to take the fingerprints. Then next moving on to Sir Calvin Goddard from 1891 to 1955. This man was known as the father of forensic ballistic. So in the mid 1920s, there was the invention of this comparison microscope. Then it began like examination of firearms or examination of any tool marks. It became famous in this time. So he was the one who contributed his work in forensic ballistic. So he was also the army officer and scholar, and also a researcher, and also known as the forensic scientist in his time. So what he did, he analyzed a bullet casing, okay, from 1920s, and then there was this invention of this firearm examination. Then next we have Sir Albert S. Osborne from 1858 to 1946. He titled the book Question Document, and he was known as the father of forensic question document. So what he did was like he documented all his techniques in this book. Like he was the first person who used this handwriting identification system in his time, and that technique is still in use till today. And he was American lawyer, and also the main contributor to this forensic question document. And next moving on to Walter McClure from 1916 to 2002. So he was an American chemist who worked extensively on application of polarizing light. Like we have this polarized light microscope, right? And it's sometimes he is characterized as the modern, like the father of modern microscopy. So he gave this analytical techniques and all that. So he was also a big contributor. Then lastly we will see Sir Hans Gross from 1847 to, sorry, here there is a typing mistake, 1990s. So in 1893 he published the book Criminal Investigation. So he was an Austrian criminologist. He helped to establish science of forensic, especially in terms of cross transfer of evidence. Means we have Locard's exchange principle. Lately he gave this cross transfer of evidence such as dirt, fingerprints, yes we have it, fibers, hair, and other this type of physical like we can say evidence then can be transferred from one place to another, yes, from primary scene to the secondary scene. That is what we say, right? So this was all about the few personalities or the contributors I have noted down. So let us move on to the next, that is the scope of forensic science. So what will be the scope, right? Here we must have heard about forensic expert, right? Forensic expert, here in every field we require forensic expert, right? Like we have, when we talk about engineering, we have a forensic engineer. So like forensic expert is someone who is expertise in that particular field. Means expertise is needed to provide strong evidence. Why we need a forensic expert? Because we need everything that should be proved, right? No one will believe if we don't prove anything, right? So in order to prove anything we need a strong evidence, so that can be given by a skillful person. So skill in a particular field leads to scope for work in a particular field. Like if we have any skill in a particular subject, if we say like toxicology, then it will be better for that person, right, to give his opinions, to carry out further processes. And also this forensic science is used in prosecution counsel. It needs forensic investigation, forensic advices, right? Then also in the defense counsel, we need this forensic investigation, means any cases if something is missing, if anything is found at a particular place. In the defense counsel also we need that. Then forensic investigation knowledge which is there, it helps the investigating officers and support the investigation. Means what is basically forensic science? It is application of science, right? The techniques, methods that are used, it gives some proof that certain things are present for certain reason. Then next we have in conviction of forensic, like in conviction, okay, sorry, here it is in conviction, forensic science plays a vital role. Means in any conviction of criminal, we cannot arrest a person, or we cannot convict a person based on means if we don't have a proof or a strong evidence, right, we cannot convict that person. So forensic science plays a main role. Then we have inquiry of cases, like something is stolen or something is missing in any organization, or we can say like in private, means in corporate sectors or private agencies or anything, companies. Then also in government, then they carry, in private cases they carry this domestic inquiries, and if it is in government offices or anywhere cases, then they conduct this departmental inquiries, like they have their own vigilance department in this government offices. And in domestic cases we have like the companies, corporate sectors, they hire their personal forensic experts. So lastly, moving to this ethics in forensic science. So here like I have taken the ethics like the codes of ethics from the forensic science, for the forensic science professional. It is taken from like this codes states that the national codes of ethics and professional responsibility for forensic science defines a framework for promoting integrity and respect for the scientific process and encouraging a research based culture to increase the public confidence. Why do we require this ethics? Because we need to increase the confidence in public. Means someone should believe you, right, for whatever you are doing. So everywhere we have ethics. So here in forensic science we have listed down. So the public confidence in quality of forensic service and forensic science professional must meet the requirements enumerated below. So starting from here, that is the first one, accurately represent his or her education, training, experience and areas of expertise. Means whoever it is who has studies forensic science, or who is known as the expert or recruited as expert, he should represent that he is a forensic expert or a forensic science person, expertise in that particular subject. So he should be capable of expertising, or he should capably represent his education and whatever training or whatever in that areas expertise he has taken, that he should represent it ethically. Then we have the pursue professional competency through training, proficiency testing, certification and presentation and publication of research findings. Then to commit continuous learning in forensic discipline and stay abreast of new findings, equipments and techniques. This is very important, because a forensic professional who has been graduated in the year we can say in the 90s, he shouldn't stay in like whatever I have learned till today, I shouldn't be focused on that techniques only, because as time changes there is development, right? Science changes, everything, the new techniques we have that keeps on changing. So this person should be updated with all the things, all the methods, new scientific methods that are used. So person should be updated in this new finding equipments and techniques. Like we have different machines for analyzing different types of evidence, so it reduces time and cost, right? So we should be able to handle that. Then next we have to promote validation and incorporation of new techniques, guarding against the use of non-valid methods in casework, right? We have validations system in the laboratory, right? So these techniques which are validated by a scientific community, we should only use that type of method in that particular casework. Then to avoid tampering, adulteration, loss or unnecessary consumption of evidence material. So this is very important. If you tamper the evidence, then there is no use of further investigation, because the evidence which is there, it is very important for the investigation. Then there should be no adulteration or loss or unnecessary consumption. Like we collect the evidence in a very small quantity, so there should not be an unnecessary consumption. Means we required only 2 to 3 grams, right, in particular test, so that should be kept in mind. Then here we have conduct full, fair and unbiased examination, leading to independent, impartial and objective opinions and conclusion. So the person who is investigating or carrying out the examination, he should be always unbiased towards the examination or towards the case. His emotion shouldn't come between his work. That is the sole meaning. Then lastly we have few, that is make and retain full, contemporaneous, clear and accurate written records of examination and test conducted and conclusion drawn in sufficient detail to allow meaningful review and assessment. So whatever test you are carrying out, whatever method you are using, it should give a meaningful review and assessment to that particular test. So here we have this next one, that is base conclusion on generally accepted procedure. So whatever conclusion you are drawing, they should be generally accepted, means the procedure whichever you are carrying out, they should be accepted by all the scientific community, or we can say supported by sufficient data, standard and controls. Means in carrying out any case, they have certain sufficient standard for that, right? Or guidelines that should be followed, and do not render conclusion that are outside one expertise. What does this means we have different forensic professionals, right? Like a person, a forensic toxicologist, then we can say a fingerprint expert. So a fingerprint expert should not give an expertise in the field of forensic toxicology, because they have studied both different branches of forensic science, right? So one should not give his conclusion outside one's expertise. Then next, moving on to the next point, that is prepare reports in unambiguous term, clearly distinguishing data from interpretation and opinions and disclosing all known associated limitation. So unambiguous terms means what? You shouldn't use very hi-fi terms that are not understandable by the local public. Means whenever whatever report you are giving, it will be present in front of the local public, right? Or if we say, if you are called as a forensic expertise in court of law as an expert witness, then whenever the report of your analysis will be read out, it should be understandable to the local public, because the person who is sitting there, like we can say the judges, the plaintiff or the victim, or we can say we have each and every person, right, who will be present in the court or outside. They are general public, they don't know this scientific terms, so it should be clear to them also, means it should be to the point that is understandable by the local public. Then we have the next point, that is present accurate and complete data in reports, oral and written presentation and testimony based on good scientific practice and validated method. So like whatever reports you are giving, it should be in the written form, in the oral form, or while giving a testimony, or we can see the expert, as you are taken as expert witness, you can prepare this presentation to support your reports, like some images you can take, anything else like that. And they should means they should have a proper scientific base, means whatever method you have used, they should follow the guidelines of science, or validated, they should be a validated methods, and expect like they should be accepted by these scientific communities. Then next, moving on to document and notifying management or quality assurance personnel of adverse event, such as unintended mistakes or a breach of ethical, legal, scientific standard, or questionable conduct. Like as a forensic expert, there will be lab technician, other person in charge in below you, right? So you should conduct that examination properly. I mean, there should be no mistake, or there should be no breach of ethical, right, and legal scientific standard. Everyone should follow a particular part, that is like the validation methods, the technique should be used and accepted, should be clear to everyone. Then next, moving on to the last point, that is ensure reporting through proper management channel to all impacted scientific and legal parties of any adverse event that affects a previously issued report or testimony. Like whatever scientific report you have taken, like likely we can say the first case, you have written a report stating this and the, like particular subject. Then in the second case, if your report is against the first report, means they are not matching, or in the second case which will be different from that, there should not be a point that is disagreeing in both of the reports. Then all this thing has been drawn from the National Commission on Forensic Science Code of Ethics. So thank you guys, do like and subscribe my channel.